Okay.
All right, so today we got not just Mr. Denny, but we got on the far left, we got Chris Greer, and everybody knows Gerald Combs, inventor of Wireshark. Then there's Denny, and we got Mr. Paul Offord from UK, and he said it was cold. But then Tony Fortunato from Canada says that ain't cold. Okay, that's warm enough to swim in. Okay. So here we are, we represent the world. We're getting a chance today to talk to Mr. Gerald Combs, not only a great friend, but an incredible technologist, like all the members of this board, with a few exceptions. So, Denny, you want to say anything?
Not really. Other than that, I think that Tony is the one that started this. So if you want to blame anyone, blame him, because he wrote an article as soon as Wireshark came out, Wireshark 2.0 came out. And then he just keep writing articles, and I said, well, stop it! I gotta make a special out of this. So we did that, and so today is the day where Danish get to shut up because it's all about technology. But I do want to say this: I can't imagine what Gerald feels right now. I mean, he's got extremely incredible panel, ranging from technologists who uses his tool to teachers who make a living out of his tools to entrepreneurs who actually build companies, and then also to developers who actually contribute back to his effort. So I was just thinking, I said, what could be an analogy? And I was thinking about he must be feeling the way I felt when I saw my son mowing in the lawn on his own for the first time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tony. Tony, what do you want to say?
Thanks for blaming me for all this.
Yeah, the Canadians never take.
Yeah, there you go. It's real simple. You know, Wireshark 2.0 is coming out. People were asking me questions, and I said, well, I better start poking around, and a lot of stuff changed. And I keep telling people, when stuff comes out, you better get used to it because you're going to have to use it sooner or later. So I started putting out very, very tiny, short clips of, hey, look at this is different, that's different, and that sort of thing. And just to make sure you navigate through it before you get that Sunday 3 a.m. call and you sit down and say, what the heck happened? You know, one of those. So that's it. I just started writing little bits and pieces of my video clips, and everybody seems to like it, so I'm putting more out. And there I am.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Gerald, what do you see as the big? I mean, it's been 20 years now, right? Roughly since you started Wireshark.
Yeah.
And this is huge. This is not just a small addition. So what do you see as the big jump in Wireshark 2.0?
I would hope it would be usability. The kind of, I won't say nasty secret, but the thing people don't seem to be noticing about Wireshark 2.0 is that the interface is new, but the underlying code is still the same. Everything well, I won't say everything, but most of the things you could do with the old interface, you can do with the new interface. My hope is that you can do it more easily and with fewer mouse clicks, and less process involved. We added a couple of new features, but for the most part, it's the same application. I'm hoping that it's the user experience is smoother. There are little subtle things like the first icon on the toolbar is now capture. That makes sense, I think, but it's a very subtle thing that a lot of people won't pick up on.
Why don't we go through the list, Tony? What do you see as the big difference? Tony, your mic's off.
Your mic is muted.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, normally that's a feature, but today is a bug.
Yeah, especially that's a prerequisite. Yeah, everything, just like Gerald said, I agree. There's a lot of little nuances from button placement to little filters that you can use that you couldn't use before. If you use the tool quite a bit, you're going to notice all these little tiny things. If you're just the occasional random user, you're just going to notice the GUI kind of looks the same. But I agree with Gerald's comments that there's a lot that you can do with fewer clicks. And as you start to figure those out, you really start to save a lot of time. A minute here, a second there, and at the end of the day, if you do this quite a bit, it's a big deal. And I think the biggest challenge I'm finding is all these little tiny, I'm not going to call them Easter eggs, but little efficiencies that get better. As you go through it, you say, oh wow, you can click on that now, you can right-click on that, you can filter on this now, and it just kind of makes everything go just a little bit more smoother than anything, right?
Yeah, I mean the fact of the matter is Wireshark has all this really great code that our developers have written all over the past 15 years or so, and my job with the new interface was to expose that as best I could, and hopefully do a better job than the legacy interface.
Hey, Paul, you want to add something to that, and then maybe Tony has a presentation that he likes to do.
Actually, rather than, I mean, I pretty much agree with what's already been said. The only thing I was going to ask Gerald was that at SharkFest last year, I remember him standing up in front of everybody and saying, "Should we go live with 2.0? What should when do we do it?" Has it worked out well for you, Gerald? Do you think it was the right time to make the step?
Yeah. I'll admit that 2.0.0 maybe wasn't as complete as I would like, but it's never going to be as complete as I like. And you just have to pick the cutoff point and say, okay, we're going to push this out now. And what I've been doing the past few weeks is kind of backfilling things and trying as people find out things and notice things missing, try to get that fixed. I was almost afraid to hear Paul speak because I've seen Paul in the mailing list, trying to get a development environment up and running under Windows, and it's kind of like, if you've never done open source development on Unix is really easy. You download the code and then you say configure, make install, and you're done. On Windows, it's like getting the IKEA version of a motorcycle engine, and there's a bit of assembly required, and I kind of felt really bad for Paul seeing him go through these little steps. They snag a lot of people, and it's just I wish that were more easy, but we try to make it easy as possible.
Yeah, but Gerald, we don't say those are problems. We say these are learning experiences.
Yeah, I think partially it's being able to having a build environment where you're generating code that's supported across so many platforms is bound to be pretty fraught. So I think the additional problem I had, because aside from some of the bug fixes I did, I also wrote another plugin, and I actually used some Qt multi-threading capability. And if you add in that together with everything else into my poor little copy of Visual Studio 2013, it was I was getting a bit fraught, but it worked in the end. Yeah.
And I think you ran into the nbar bug, didn't you? The dbar bug, the Dell backup.
Yeah. Just when I was preparing for this presentation, I was getting really worried because I was running through my presentation, going to save a file to a CSV, and Wireshark was just shutting on me. I thought, oh my God, I'm presenting tomorrow. What am I going to do? With the help of Graham Blois and obviously input from yourself, I got that fixed. So it's good. Sorry, guys, don't want to take up more time.
No. And for those of you who don't know, what we're talking about, the Wireshark, the Qt user interface has a compatibility issue with a piece of software that ships by default on Dell PCs and laptops, and it's a pretty serious bug, and hopefully Dell will get it fixed soon.
It's really bizarre because when you watch it in a trace, because I traced it crashing. Wireshark starts to execute Dell DLL code, and you think, what on earth is going on here? And I don't know, the stacks seem to become corrupted or something. I'm not quite sure, but
what happens is there's an Explorer shell extension that gets installed, and as soon as you bring up a file dialog, that gets loaded, and then basically replaces a whole bunch of DLLs that Wireshark has loaded, and then everything explodes.
I saw the Explorer stuff. Yeah. Okay.
The nice thing about Gerald, he's got a lifetime job, because I just noticed on the Wireshark bug list, there's 553 for February, and this is not only halfway through roughly, and so Gerald has a job for a lifetime. So you'll be sitting there in the hospital in the last few days, So hey, Chris, we got Chris on finally.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tony, you wanna you promised to make this today's episode technical. I don't know why, but go ahead. You wanted to show off. You want to show off some new features, right?
Yeah, we're all going to take a kick at the can at this. I guess I'll just go first.
Yeah.
What we did is we just kind of picked things that we thought were kind of neat, kind of different, kind of worth highlighting. And I just did a couple of slides, nothing fancy, nothing long. This is going to take very long. This is the HTTP statistics screen, if I can get that out.
Yeah.
And I did a couple of slides, which again I'll provide the information on the link, and we'll post this stuff later. And I just wanted to show people how they can use a display filter when they do HTTP statistics. And the biggest complaint I've had, because I do a lot of training, people are always shying away from display filters because they find it hard to figure out. So all I did was put together a few slides, the 3 slides basically, it doesn't take very long, and how you can figure out the display filter string for a host name, and then you can actually filter out your HTTP stats a little bit better. So in this particular case, we've got a screenshot, and all I did was I did the find Control F function, and bang, we get a little box pop out in 2.0. It used to be a dialog box, now it's more of a bar, and that's the kind of the subtle changes we spoke of earlier. You just type the name of the domain you're looking for, in this case thetechfirm.com, make sure it's a string, and in this case I search for it in the packet details, which is that middle pane, right? From there, you find what you need, and you can highlight the host name, in this case techfirm.com. And when you right-click on it and you go to copy, you can actually copy this as a filter. And that's all you do. You copy this as a filter, so you don't have to type anything for lazy people like me, or fat finger people like me. And when you bring up your HTTP packet counter, for example, you'll see everything, all the HTTP stats. But if I just want the ones for that host, I can apply that display filter syntax now, and it narrows it down for me. And the reason why I keep coming across this particular one, especially when I'm troubleshooting, is because it actually helps you figure out for that one host how many gets, if there's any errors, because sometimes the web page goes and pulls down banners and other stuff from other servers, and it's pretty hard when you look at all the counters to figure out, was there a problem with one server or one host rather than the entire experience. So this is just a neat little trick I like to use, and it's not difficult at all, and you don't even have to type anything. And the nice thing about it is, as always, when you have a display filter, you can go down into the little green box, you can change a tech firm to CNN.com or whatever as you go along. You don't need to right-click and paste all the time, and you can actually get all the statistics as one host at a time. And that's it. That's it. Short and sweet. Real simple.
That's cool.
Thank you, Tony.
So, Paul, now you going to talk about something? You got some...
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't really... it's not really based on the new features, but it's something that I've always appreciated in the existing version, in the old version and in the new version. So what I was going to show you is the ability to export out into a CSV. So hopefully you can see my screen. So if I've got rather a large trace actually. It's got a few 100,000 records in it, but I'll load up the trace, and then I'll show you how I can process network trace data to produce performance figures for, in this case, for an Exchange server. So I actually captured this trace with a dumpcap command. So this was the command that I used. So this is just using the command line capture tool that comes with the Wireshark suite, and that still works well. And you can see that I'm filtering as I'm capturing on a specific port, and this is the port of the Exchange server that I'm trying to analyze. So here I have the information. I've got a plugin called Transum loaded, which just gives me some additional information. And what I can do is, if I create myself a new profile, let's do this quickly. And it's rescanning the file because I've changed the profile. I didn't think of that. Sorry about that. That's just a little delay, so talk amongst yourselves while it's working through the file. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add an additional column into the summary line here, up here, to include some response time information. So I'm going to add this column. So I just say apply as a column So now I get this additional thing here. I'm going to add a very short show me.
While he's doing that, while he's doing that, Gerald, at SharkFest this year, I'm sure a lot of the presentations are going to focus on 2.0, which is coming up in May. And by the way, they're going to have the first European SharkFest too.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, in October, in it, I think. So, what will there be a lot of training like that focused on 2.0 and?
I would assume that the training is just, I mean, that whoever does a presentation will just pick up on the current release.
Okay.
And I know Laura Chappell is working on some, updating all of her stuff for 2.0, and maybe she'll, call out some special things there. In fact, I know she will, because that's,
that's
I don't see how she, I don't see how she couldn't. Actually, the focus on SharkFest 2.0 in the U.S. this year is going to be security, and that's going to be in June in Mountain View in the Computer History Museum. And SharkFest Europe, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. And guess who's going to be speaking this year as your keynote speaker?
Len Shustek.
Yeah, Leonard Shustek. He was the founder of, co-founder of Network General with Harry Saul. An incredible person. Founder of the Computer Museum, one of the founders, but the main energy behind it, and an incredible person, not just smart, but incredible. You'll really enjoy his talk. Paul, go ahead. I'm sorry, we just, while you were diddling there.
Yeah. Paul, give me 1 second. I just want to remind our live audience, and we actually do have live audience, all because of Gerald. There is a place on either the YouTube page or the Hangout event page, and if you can find it, it says Q&A, and if you click on that, a panel would appear on the right-hand side, and you can ask questions. And you can ask questions to Gerald or anybody else on the panel. Sorry about that, Paul. Go ahead.
That's okay. Now I've filtered it down, so I've just got entries in here that show the RPC call and the time it took to actually service that. And now I can just simply do export to CSV. So I'll export out all of these summary lines. Sorry, if I type in a file name would help. Okay, so down here you can see the progress again. It's showing that it's exporting the data. And then I can go into that data and just open it up in Excel very quickly. And I can do things, once I've got it in Excel, although there are some really improved graphing facilities in version 2 of Wireshark. If I bring it into Excel, I can do other things with it, post-process it in a number of ways. But just to show you one simple way is I can produce a scatter plot from the data, so you can see very quickly that I can get a view on the actual response times. These are in seconds up the side rather. Outlook and Exchange use a thing called long pole where they're trying to receive asynchronous messages, but they do it by just sending a request and waiting for 600 seconds for a response. So that explains why I've got this wide variety here, which is rather long response times. These ones up here, I don't know what's gone wrong. I'd have to investigate. And then we've got a solid bar of quite fast response times down the bottom. So that just gives you just a flavour of what you can do just with a straightforward export of data out of Wireshark into a CSV.
And that gives you a lot of filter capability, because once it's in Excel, anything can be used as a key feature or a key search element.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can do things like, for example, if I've got a service level that says that 95% of all response times have to complete within, say, 95% have to complete within a certain period of time. what I can do is I can just use a very simple Excel formula, and you can see that in this case 95% of all requests complete within 46 seconds, which is a bit of a weird number if you were looking at real performance figures. But you can see that in Excel you can then go on and to do a lot more with it, with the data.
Yeah. Wow. And that's a new feature for 2.0?
No, that's available even in the old version. But yeah, it's always been. I've always thought of it as a really powerful tool.
It is cool for reporting. So, Chris, what kind of new things have you seen in 2.0 that you love?
Hey guys, hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yeah.
Sorry I had to drop out there earlier. I'd love to say that it's a Costa Rica problem, but it wasn't. It just, my machine was having some issues.
By the way, we want to apologize that you have to be in Costa Rica and do this. I mean, what temperature is it there, just roughly?
You know, I mean, 82, I think, today.
Oh,
You
that
know,
sucks.
it's rough.
Yeah.
Some people have to suffer, Tony.
I know. Well, someone's got to do it, right?
Right.
So, while my machine's still behaving, let me go ahead and just show you a few of the things that I like about 2.0, and I'll just focus on two simple ones that everyone can see. When you open up a new trace file, something I really like is the intelligent scroll bar over there to the right. That shows us, if you have a coloring rules on, then you can see what color the packets are and where they're concentrated. So just now, instead of like digging through and finding where I have packets with problems, let's say retransmissions, window issues, that kind of stuff, just with a glance I can look over and see when in the trace file those events happened. And I don't even need to touch anything. So I think that's really cool. Now each one of these lines corresponds to the number of packets that are in there. So if I have only a 5-packet trace, and I'm just going to see, these lines will reflect the amount of pixels will show corresponding to the number of packets. So that's something that I like. Saves you from digging, and you can also it helps to see if there's any patterns in the retransmissions, which I have a couple of trace files. That's really handy. You can see how often do you have some spottiness, how often do we have packet loss, that kind of stuff. So that's something that I think is really cool with 2.0.
And when you hover over those, do they tag anything, or is it just a visual representation?
No, it's just visual. Like if I'm hovering over here, I don't see anything there, but then that lets me know I can slide down right to where in the trace I'm having ugly black lines and TCP issues. Because you can filter on these, and that's fine. And of course, that's always been a feature I've liked. You can set filters for looking for these issues, but it's nice to just glance over real quick and see if that's even a problem. So within a few seconds, I can tell if I'm having some TCP flags or things that I should be digging into from that. One other thing that I like, and Gerald, I'm not sure exactly how it's technically called, so I'll just call it, if I just click on a TCP packet, over here, this little bracket that shows up. I think that's really helpful as well, because, like, take for example this, I just clicked on a SYN, and then I have a couple of ARPs here. Clearly those aren't involved in the TCP conversation that I just clicked on. So over here, this bracket shows me, okay, for this TCP conversation which starts here, the bracket, their line breaks up, or you can see little dashes there, over packets that are not involved in that TCP stream. And then it picks up and shows me ones that are involved, then a couple that are not. And in fact, right here, I can see that this is a new TCP SYN, not involved with the packet that I have clicked up above. And just with a glance, I can visually see, oh, this packet is not a part of the TCP conversation that I've clicked on. So it's really, I like that because it's a visual way to just look over and glance over and see whether a packet is involved with something that I'm taking a look at. And here I can see, here was the final packet of data that I had in that conversation, and then I have a few non-involved packets, and then finally this is where I see either the final act that I noticed in the trace, or the fin, or the reset. So those are two things that I think are really just quick and simple, but very useful in the new interface. So the bracket over to the left, and also the intelligent scroll bar to the right. And it's also nice that it shows like take for example DNS here. So I just did a lookup here for edition.cnn.com, and here's the DNS response, and you can see with this little mini bounce chart here off to the left with those DNS calls. So those are just a couple little quick features I like. I enjoy. I like using those for sure.
Cool. I'm glad you like them. A couple of things about those features. One, the primary one is that I kind of added them because over the past few years I've been traveling around with Riverbed, for Riverbed with Hansong Bei. You guys know him, and that he always points out that humans are really good at pattern recognition, and so I kind of thought, well, how can we throw some more context up in the packet list and let people's brains kind of subconsciously process this stuff. The thing to note about the intelligent scroll bar is that each of those packets shown in the scroll bar correspond to an actual raster line in your monitor. So if you need a business case for buying a Retina display, you have one now.
And you can buy it through Wireshark at a discounted price, only available today.
Sure. The feature on the left, I kind of, when I checked in the code, I called it the related packet indicator, and I haven't come up with a better name for the feature, so I really don't know what to call it. But,
okay, then I don't feel bad then, because I was like, he's probably got a really nice name for this little bracket thingy. I'll just call it the left side bracket thingy for now,
No, I didn't have a good name for the scroll bar either. Laura came up with intelligent scroll bar, so that's what's sticking there. So, but kind of going back to what I was talking about originally, though. But Wireshark has all this code, all this really great code underneath it that all these developers have developed have written over the years, and the challenge with 2.0 was kind of coming up with a way to expose that and doing it well and cleanly. And the related packets and the intelligent scroll bar, that reflects code that's always been there. It's just that we're presenting it in a slightly new and different way.
More human way, a recognizable human method. Because ultimately, Wireshark is not just a tool to look at your network. It's also an educational tool for you to learn about your network.
Sure.
I always compare it to a medical patient, right? If you can't take their pulse, and go through all the basic pre-calls, then, you don't know how good the patient really is, live or dead or up and down in your network. And we're seeing so many attacks today. If people don't know what's normal, I think Tony just did something on Google Plus, put up a thing, and it's baselining to me, and I'm old, so ignore it, but baselining to me is still the really fundamental necessity. You have to have some method of seeing what your network is sort of normally doing, so when you suddenly see a new IP stream and a bunch of new stuff happening and commands, money going out the door, as we say, you're in trouble if you're not seeing that. And it's just horrible. Did you all hear about the Hollywood Presbyterian Hospital? They got hit by ransomware, and the hackers only want $39 million.
Wow.
And of course, the problem that I'm seeing, though, I mean, just divert for a second. One of my big gripes is this will probably be one of the first times that we're putting humans in very bad danger. And if a human dies because of a hack, we're just now beginning to get law so we can file international charges for that. So if anybody says a hacker is not dangerous to people, now they are. So, but going back on now, Chris, you're going to be teaching at SharkFest, right? Chris? Yeah, Chris can't hear us. We lost him
for some reason. Yeah.
We know he's alive. Paul, now are you teaching?
No, I'm not this year. Unfortunately, I can't go, and one of my colleagues is going, but I'm going to go to the European one
Cool.
later in the year. So,
and that's in London, right?
No, it's in
Arnhem, Netherlands. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I had a
windmill. Yeah,
Go
I had
ahead,
a question, Gerald. What do you see the next big step with Wireshark? Because one of the things that I'm thinking is, I remember that at the last Shark Fest, I can't think of her name. A lady was telling me about the increased encryption of traffic across the network, and we won't be able to see what's going on inside the packets and all that sort of thing. And I'm wondering about the things like ETW sources and providers on Windows, which provide an awful lot of rich information.
Let me rephrase Paul's question, Gerald. I think what Paul is asking is that when you release Wireshark 3.0 10 years from today, what will we be talking about?
Yeah, good point. That's a much better way to put it.
I hope I'm still here.
I see a couple of directions we can go. One thing Paul kind of hinted at is correlating with system events. And we can do that on Windows using ETW, possibly, and other products actually do that now and do it to good effect. On Linux, you can do that using Sysdig. If you've never used Sysdig before in Linux, you should download it now and try it out. It's a tool written by Loris Dejoani, who is actually a former boss of mine. He's one of the guys who wrote WinPCAP. And Sysdig is like TCP dump for system calls, meaning you can run Sysdig on an application and see all the system calls that it makes. And the thing nobody knows about Sysdig is that the file format that it writes to is PCAPNG. And so right now what you can do with Wireshark 2.0 is open up a Sysdig file and actually see the system calls that a program generates. That's kind of a not very well advertised feature of Wireshark, and I kind of really haven't pushed it because it's a very basic support right now, and I'm hoping to improve that as time goes on. But right now, yeah, you can take a Sysdig file and merge it with a network capture and see, say, the network traffic next to system calls that an application might make.
That's something I didn't know. Okay, that sounds cool.
I actually like to, since we have Gerald here, I actually like to ask a question to Paul. What was the experience like from a personal level, transitioning from a beneficiary of Wireshark to a contributor?
Let's be clear. My level of contribution is I've fixed a few bugs and I've written a couple of dissectors. One of them's quite a tricky one, but I've not done any heavy-duty development inside Wireshark, and I'm not sure I'm up to it, quite honestly. My C knowledge is about 30 years out of date, and it's. But I enjoy doing the bits that I've done. I'll tell you a funny story. Actually, I found a bug the other day in the RPC dissector, and with the help of Pascal, I developed some code to fix it, and we were getting on quite well, and we were chatting about a few things, how to fix it. I went to bed. I got up the next morning. I found that my bug report on Bugzilla had been marked as a copy of another bug that was created after my one, and my fix had been abandoned and replaced by another one, and the new fix had been merged into the main code already. So I'd gone from, like, I was fixing it 1 minute, and I got up in the morning, and it was all done. And it was Guy Harris had leapt in there. He'd done all this stuff, and I thought, so I've got a feeling I may be able to train him to fix other bugs if I can just add enough code just to get him interested, and then leave it overnight, and with a bit of luck, he'll fix it. So maybe I am contributing more than I thought.
And Gerald's there thinking, okay, well, so what else is new? That's how it's done.
That happens more than that happens to me a lot, quite often, as a matter of fact. And actually, that kind of goes into the benefits of an open source project. When you have an open source project like this, when it works well, it works really well. Somebody on Twitter noticed recently that he sent in a bug report, and I think Guy was the guy who fixed this, but this time as well. But he said within, I think, 30-something minutes, the bug had been fixed and checked in, and after that, we have an automated build system, so you're able to go in and, if you want to, download an installer with that fix. And that is really one of the nice things about having an open source project. And that's kind of what I see as one of my jobs. One of my jobs is to reduce the development friction in the project as much as possible. And earlier when I mentioned that, when you try to set up a build environment on Linux, or I'm sorry, on Windows, you kind of get this bag of parts you have to assemble.
Yeah.
That's an actual problem, and it should, that's something we need to be fixing. We should reduce that friction there.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. I've got no problem with Guy fixing it. He's obviously far more qualified than I am to fix it, so that's fine by me.
I think you find that with almost all of the Wireshark developers, if you put out a call for some new support or anything, they take it as a personal challenge. Last year was, had it on a notebook, or on a pad, and just they're constantly looking out to the future.
You get answers to problems amazingly quickly through
Yes.
the various support channels for Wireshark, much faster than you would do for, say, a Wireshark product. I posted a question on MSDN about Microsoft Message Analyzer about 2 weeks ago, and I still don't have an answer. And it's just a straightforward question about how does it do this? What am I actually seeing? And I don't have an answer. And so, yeah, the community, the Wireshark community, is much more active.
Yeah, it's a commitment. A lot of people. Even going back to the old days. It's been really committed. It's a passion with most of the developers. And Guy is one of those ones that, if it's not fixed in an hour, he's frustrated. Great guy. And he lives in the. It's like a swimmer. He lives in the water of Wireshark. What was it? Laura said, not Laura. Janice, I think last year said, the people that are our big core developers, they swim with the shark. So.
Hey guys, I think we should probably close the show. I just want to mention that next Wednesday we have another special. It's actually Ocam Guy giving us a retrospective on Interop. And so we'll the next few weeks we're going to do a lot of stuff with Interop, and I'm guessing that as we get close to Shockfest, we'll do the same for Shockfest, right, Tim?
Yes, and we're hoping that we'll be able to get people at Shockfest to give us some live commentary or some at the show feedback.
Yeah.
So we all can live vicariously through it.
Okay. So, Gerald, being our guest of honor today, I would like to give you the opportunity to close the show for us. What are you? What's on your mind?
Well, right now I'm trying to get everything lined up to get 2.0.2 out, and there are a couple of snags, but we'll get through those. But I do want to thank everybody for using Wireshark. It's been a great journey so far, and I can't wait to see what comes down the line. And thank you for all the attendees, everybody who's attending this today, and thanks to all the Wireshark users and developers out there in general. I just can't thank everybody enough. Thanks.
Thank you, Gerald.
Thank you, John.
So we're gonna go across the panel here. Chris, your turn.
Can you hear us, Chris?
Nope.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Okay, so he said it's all good. So Paul?
Paul,
Sorry,
your
I wasn't expecting you to come back to me. I've said quite a lot already.
Just quickly, wrap it up. Yeah.
It's a fantastic tool. It is we use it every day of the week at Advanced 7. So I can't thank Gerald enough for starting the whole thing. It's great.
Yeah, there are a few things in the world that you can point to that are free, legal, and actually good, right?
Hey guys, hopefully you can actually hear me speak.
Yeah, Chris, go ahead. Yeah, give your summary.
My summary is that my machine hates Hangouts. I will tell you that. But I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at Sharkfest. Gerald, you especially. It's going to be a fun year. I'm privileged to speak again. It's an honor to be there, to attend, and then to to be able to speak. So thanks a lot, guys, and looking forward to more of this.
Thank you, Chris. Tony, you started this. You finished.
Thanks. Again, just want to spread the word that it's Wireshark. You don't need to be a developer to figure out problems. You don't need to be a brain surgeon to log a bug. You know, every little thing you see, and I'm much like Paul. I've logged and opened many tickets to find that there's already one out there, and that somebody's already fixed it. And don't take it the wrong way. It just means you're paying attention, you know. And sometimes you're saying it differently, but sometimes it'll help somebody find yet another bug. Hey, it's all good. So at the end of the day, it's a community, and hopefully people keep using the tool in more interesting and different ways, and it only helps people use it more, I guess. So I'm going to keep putting my articles and my videos out and keep teaching and keep using and keep contributing my own way.
You're doing a wonderful job. It's amazing. It's amazing what you do. Thank you, Tony. And once again, thank you, Gerald. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Tim. And thank you, Chris. And we'll see you next week when Old Com Guy comes back and talk about old stuff.
Old stuff, yeah.
Old stuff. The way it used to be. You know, how we used to carry abacus to interrupt. Okay, with that, I'll close the show. And thank you very much. See you again.
Bless all.
All right.